All right, so the last live, it might have been messed up. I don't know if it was muted, but hopefully this one works. I said some good stuff in the last one too. Like, I don't know how I can replicate all that. I'm gonna try. I just made some good jokes that like really put in perspective. So in my Facebook group, I posted and I said, what's the hardest part about rebuilding yourself after the narcissist? And it got a good reach. It was 136 post reach, and it was 30 comments. So some of these comments are similar. So if I don't mention your name, I'm not skipping over you. It's just that you and maybe 2 or 3 other people might have said the same thing. So I'm just going to try to like wrap it up. Diana's comment is the first one I see at the top from 8 hours ago, and it says, learning to trust my instincts again after being called crazy for so long. Okay, so here's the deal. Because the narcissist is trying to like build their fantasy world, they are operating from their wounded inner child. I mean, all of us are, but they're doing it on an extreme level because they're really trying to like block it out. But oddly, at the same time, that's exactly where they operate from. It's really weird. So because they are letting the wounded child like do all the levers and stuff, this kid wants to create a fantasy world where everything centers around them, because in their childhood they got their feelings hurt somehow, like their parents did them wrong and they screwed up, and the child now is grown and is trying to make up for all that, and they build this fantasy land around them where things are only possible through them. Anything that they don't want to hear it doesn't have to be part of their reality. They're in full control of people that are in their reality, and they get what they want no matter what. And one of my favorite things that they like to say that you'll hear a lot is, everything works out for me no matter what. Which isn't really true for anyone's life, but they do like to let you know that they're going to succeed come hell or glory. And that's not how life works at all for anyone, but they'll let you know. So everything centers around them, which means that when you have your instincts or your intuition or whatever, when that starts to kick in and you kind of like question yourself or whatever, they're going to swat your hand away and say, don't touch that. Don't touch that. Don't be pushing buttons and shit. I'm running this. If I fucking say this is this. This is your reality. You can eat it or die, you know. And they will just hit you like a whack-a-mole, and they will fucking let you know that any suspicions or ideas, any wild ideas you have about having your own damn opinion about something, you can flush it, because that doesn't fit in. Because to them, when you start questioning things or you start trying to like interject your own shit into something, to them it's like trying to cram a square peg into a round hole. It's not going to work, and because it doesn't fit what they've got built. And what they've got built is their own little damn reality that is like their little magical wonderland where anything's possible, but only through them. So that's why you can't, and because these people are so good at burying themselves in your subconscious mind, they get in there and they just snuggle, and because they know, sadly, they're really good at psychological stuff. And I know I've said this before, but damn, I'm gonna say it again because it's the truth. I don't know why these people don't apply for government jobs where they can like go hunt down killers or something like that, because they're really good at getting into your mind and like getting you to trust them and shit like that. And I don't know why the hell we can't put that to use for this country. I just, you know, I'm wondering where the disconnect is. Because they could be hunting down pedophiles and all kinds of stuff, and instead they're just ruining women. So it's like, I don't know what. But anyway, I can't get into that. We'll be here all day. So, but what I'm trying to tell you is that in order for them to keep control, they've got to have you thinking that you can't control it. Because to them, only one person can run shit, and it's not going to be you. And that being the case, anything Because you'll get suspicious, and you'll see shit and hear shit, be like, you know what, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I don't fucking know about that. And the moment you act just the tiniest bit unsure, they're gonna just rip it to shreds, because you're interrupting what they're doing. They're trying to build their little world, and that's not, you're fucking it up. On top of that, to distract you from asking questions, they're still gonna plug in their little shared fantasy they've got with you, and they're gonna distract you with it and say, oh, well, you know, don't worry about that. And 5 minutes later, the subject's gonna change. Or they're gonna try to pull, like, some of them will use the tactic where they sort of sound like they're apologizing, but they're not. But they'll make it sort of sound that way, just enough for you to accept it as an apology. Some of them will use that and build on that, and then right after that little drop off, they're gonna come back with, oh, well, so anyway, what do you want to do this weekend? Let's go do something fun this weekend, whatever you want to do. And they're gonna dangle, you know, so they're gonna go back to dangling the life you want in front of you like this, to take your mind off of ever having the fucking temerity to question them. You know, like, how could you do that? That's so cruel. I'm so kind to you. What about this? Don't forget about this. Well, we gotta do this, you know, and, well, don't you still want that? You know, it's that. So, and that's one of the reasons that people stick around so long, is because they pull that out, you know, that back pocket. They'll just pull it out and say, oh, well, you know, and that's how they keep you hooked, because they convince you with their skill. They convince you that, and women are so bad about this. They're so bad about falling for this shit, that if you lose him, you're never going to get anybody like that again. No one's ever going to love you again, which means you'll die, and you'll never have that again. So you better not fuck it up, and you better fucking accept the bad with the good. But you don't have to do that if the bad is 80% and the good's like 0.2%, and then the neutral is like the rest of it. So, I mean, what's the point? But we've been taught to really, like, accept everything about them, and just, you know, to take the bad with the good. But there's a line that has to be drawn, and we're not taught about that line. We're just taught, you know, if you just get the right man, if you just get a good man, everything else is going to be fine. And that's not how it works. But that's the lie we've been sold for the past 6,000 years since monotheism was brought to this planet. I'm not going to get on that, because we will be here all day. But you've been sold a lie. So that, just putting just one on the pedestal, you know, that's hurting you because you're not included. So, and that's not survival. But because that severely wounded, severely not able to handle it, and not coping with it at all, and not seeking therapy, wounded child on the inside there is pulling all those things like this. They have to escape that pain from their childhood, whatever that was, that they are not fucking dealing with. To get away from that and to hide from it, they have to just create a fantasy world, like I say, where they're in full control. You would have to do that. You'd have to do that if you were in that kind of shape. If you were in bad enough shape and, like, just couldn't cope, but also refuse to go to therapy, because you'll know, because those people, when the way they carry themselves like they can do no wrong. And you'll see it. And then when they do try to act humble or whatever, you can tell it's fake as shit. Because you'll wonder, you'll see it and you'll be like, you know, and you'll question it. And God forbid you say anything. But it'll make you wonder, you know. And then sometimes, if you're lucky, you can get in touch with other people who know that person, who have also been wronged by them, and they can let you know, oh, by the way, you know, don't believe a thing you hear. You know, if you're lucky enough to get the story from other people, it just depends. If it's somebody you're dating and you don't know any of their friends or anything, or anybody that they used to deal with, then I don't know. But so, But that, yeah, it's they create so many lies around you. And I think, oddly, I think that when they go after empathic people who are like highly intuitive and things like that and really smell shit from a mile away when no one else can, they go after that. And I think it's odd because they're attracted to that power because they are attracted to any kind of power. They like people who have a lot of personal power, have really good habits that make them successful, make a lot of money and are living a good life, have a good home life, are doing real good things. You know, that's the high quality people like that's really attractive to them. And it would be to anybody, but I mean, that's they love that. And they want to get close to that because they want to enmesh and either become you or become like you or control you or whatever. And in controlling you, they have it all, you know, because you've got all that, but they've got you. And like you've got the gun, but their finger is on the trigger. It's like that. So, that being so even though they're drawn to the intuitive types and the mystical type people, at the same time they're hurting themselves because that intuitive person is going to sense their bullshit, whether the relationship lasts longer or not. You know, sometimes it does, but that all depends on the intuitive person. But if it does last long, time's going to go by and go by and go by and go by, and they're going to sense more and more bullshit. And every time they do, the narcissist is going to say, well, that's not true. How fucking dare you? How could you fucking question me? How dare you? Are you know, and you just about going to court over, you know, something that was said because they're so offended that you would dare to question. But yet they've attached themselves to somebody who knows that when they're lying. So it's like, why would you do that to yourself? If you know you're going to build your entire life and everything on lies, why would you attach yourself to somebody who's gonna see that? It's like you're hurting yourself. Why are you doing that? Stop hitting yourself. And I think they do that because like I say, they're drawn to that magic. They're drawn to that power. They want to be surrounded by it. They want to be in it. They want to be wading in it, you know. But the intuitive person is going to say shit that they don't want to hear, just like they have to do with everybody else. They're going to tell you things you don't want to hear because their job on this planet is to open you up to things that you've been ignoring. And they're going to tell the narcissist the same shit. There's no what do you call it, exclusions or with exceptions to the rule. You know, anybody that needs to be told something in order for them to finally face it and deal with it, the intuitive is going to tell you, period. You know, there's no rules about that. It's just if you need to be told something, you're going to hear it. And when the narcissist hears it, that especially fucks them up because they know what they're hiding from, whether they admit to it or not. Well, some of them may not know what they're hiding from. If they don't know their own psychology enough, or if they don't know why they're hurting, they may not know what they're hiding from. You know, whatever childhood trauma. But for the ones who know why they're doing what they're doing, and then somebody says, you know what your problem is? Remember that story you told me about when you were 8 years old and blah, 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 and your parents split, blah, 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 or whatever the story is. And the narcissist is going to just like go white as a sheet. The blood's just going to leave their face because they're freaking out because you're picking something that they are trying to hide from. And they could have a multitude of reactions. I don't know. It depends on their personality. So I can't tell you what to prepare for because I don't know what they're going to do. But some of them start yelling, some of them will cry, some of them will ignore you, whatever. They're not going to sit there and tell you that you're right. I know that. So you forget it. If you know you're right, then just rest in that. Rest in the knowledge that you're right without them admitting to it. But because they're hurting so much and they have to build that huge ass fantasy world, you know, it's like a video game where you get in there and just build the city from scratch, like fucking Minecraft, you know, it's like that. You can just build whatever you want, except you're not the one holding the controller, they are. Or you might be holding it and doing all the work, but they're the one telling you what to do. So, you know, it's just, they have to do that so they can get by because they can't cope with whatever the hell happened to them. And you may never find out. They may never tell you that Or they might tell you things about their childhood, and they might reveal what it is that they're suffering from so much, but they won't act like it's bothering them now because they may not be aware of it. I'm not trying to excuse their behavior or whatever. Their behavior is utter shite, and they shouldn't, at 30-something years old, they shouldn't still be doing it. But like I say, especially with men, they refuse to go to the fucking therapist. So it's like, it's going to be especially common with them, but because they won't get help because they can do no wrong, they might tell you, like I've had a couple of them tell me what their, what went on in their childhoods or whatever, like when we were getting to know each other or whatever, and they would reveal things, and later on I'd be like, you know what, that's why you're so screwed up, because your mom let that happen, or whatever it is. And you just have to make your peace with that that's what their problem is. But and just go from there. But that's why, because they have to maintain that fantasy, and you coming to your senses is just terribly inconvenient. And they can't have that. We can't have that. So we're going to do the whack-a-mole thing. You get back down in your hole and be quiet. You know what I mean? And that's just how they do. So when it comes to trusting your intuition again and things like that, from then on, once you get away from that person and they're not hounding you every day or whatever, or even if you can't necessarily get away from them right away, if you're still in the process where, like I said in my other videos, where you're building your plan, your escape plan and things like that about how to get out or whatever, during that process you can take little steps, and it counts, but you can take little steps to start trusting your own intuition and start trusting your own gut again. And if it's as simple, if you have to start with something small, like choosing what you're going to eat for a meal, choosing when you're going to watch TV or when you're going to do something, choosing where you're going to go while you're out. Because some of these people, narcissists, they have such a control over people that they have them making every single decision, like what they're going to eat and when, and where they're going to go, and who's going to drive, and when something's going to be done, and shit like that. If you're starting from there, then make decisions with those little things, because they seem little. They're actually not, but they seem little. But start with that. Trust your instinct. Go, if you're trying to choose what to do, look at your options, whether it's food in the kitchen, places to go, tasks for the day, stuff you got to do with your money, or whatever it is. Look at your options and just sit there and look at it for a little bit and go with what feels right. The first thing that jumps out to you, ask yourself, how does this feel? How would I feel once I get that done? How would I feel going with that choice? Ask yourself how you'd feel about it and how that would feel afterwards. And would you be satisfied with that if you went with that? And just start small. Just start small. And do that. And let your intuition guide you. Just ask it. Ask it what it wants. That's all you gotta do. Talk to it like it's its own person and just say, what do you want? Or talk to yourself, like you're talking to a separate person. What do you want? And just let it guide you. If you're not sure, or if you can't come up with an answer, pick something and just experiment with it and see how it feels. And if you've changed your mind about that, drop it and go with something else. Whether it's what to eat, what to wear, whatever. If you're starting from there, then start small. It's fine to do that. You got to start somewhere. If that's what you need to start, then start there. Because I sure as hell had to do it. Let me tell you, the last one who was such a doozy, when I finally cut ties with him, when I finally put my foot down for the last time and said, no, you're not coming back to this house, except to come get your shit. When I finally broke up with him, for good, really, truly broke up with him, one of the first things I did was go to the fucking store and buy a bottle of wine, and and it was sangria. I forgot the brand. I'd know it if I saw it again, but it's the one at Food Lion. But it was a good one. And I went home and I just opened that and I just drank it. Not the whole bottle, but I mean, I had some wine. But because he knew, because he always knew every move and everything I did, I wanted, as a little victory thing for myself, I wanted to be able to make one move that he didn't know anything about. And I went to the store without his knowledge. After breaking up with him, I bought a bottle of wine. I came home and I cracked it open and I drank some. And that was a big step for me. That was a big move. I was like, damn, I'm on top of the world. Because that's all it took to feel that way. That was all it took. Because he had so much control over my fucking whereabouts and my fucking activities. To the point where it felt good to go get myself some wine and just sit there and just drink a glass of wine. While I did yoga. In the floor in front of the TV. You better fucking believe I did. You can ask my mom. You better believe I did. I don't know what else to tell you, but that's what happened. And it's just shit like that. So that, you know, and I'm not necessarily telling you need to start drinking, but what I mean is little things that you feel like you want to do, just do it. Just do it. If you're not hurting yourself and you're not hurting another person, and let's say you just want to go and buy a bottle of wine and go home and drink some, then do that. That son of a bitch doesn't have to know you did that. If you want to follow your intuition, do something like that, then fucking do it. You know what I mean? So starting small like that, if that's what you want to do. If there's something, or if you want to go big, let's say you're thinking about going back to school for something, and you're trying to decide what you want to go back for. Make a phone call. Talk to those people on the at the not HR, but whatever that's called, student services or the school counselor or whatever it is, and talk to them about what each class is like or whatever, and get some information. Write it down, or they'll be glad to email it to you, I'm sure, and sit there and just marinate in it and let it sink in, and if in some time from then, a few days or a few weeks, whatever, you'll probably come up with what you want to do. Give all your information and just sit with it. Just let it sit. And whatever feels right, it'll come to you. It'll come to you in good time. Everything happens at the time it's supposed to. So at the right time, it's going to pop into your head. Probably when you least expect it. You'll probably be doing something totally irrelevant. You'll probably be vacuuming or something, and you'll be like, I want to go back to school and be a nurse. And it'll just be like that. I have done that many times where I've been doing like bullshit stuff, and something big will just hit me. I've done it 1,000 times. You let your intuition speak up. Let it speak up. And because there's no reason, especially as women, because we are mystical creatures. And they laugh at that, but I really don't care. Because I always have that power. They don't. But, I mean, I don't hate men. I don't want to give off that vibe, because that's not how I feel. But I'm tired of us being laughed at over things we can do that they can't. I'm tired of being laughed at. I mean, like, if you're gonna laugh, just get out of my way. This is why women have like quit dating in such large numbers. But that's another video for another time. But you having this internal power that guides you to the real answers to shit is always going to be there. That's not going to go away. When you're 50, 60, 90, it's still going to be there. It's always going to be there because it's part of you. So there won't be any, even if you were taught to ignore it for X amount of time, you're not going to be able to ignore it forever because it's going to scream at you. So you won't have a problem with the lack of trust in yourself. You're not going to have that problem for too long because that it's part of your essence, and there is no getting away from it. So let it speak up in whatever ways it wants to, with the little things or the big things, and just listen to it. Just listen to it. Just pretend the narcissist has died and they can't say anything. And just listen to what comes up inside you, and that's it. And you just block out the rest. Just block out the rest. And that's how I've operated since then. And I'm doing A-okay. So, you know, it is possible to get past that. It is possible. And it does feel like it takes a long time because you really do have to rebuild yourself. Because the narcissist makes you forget things about yourself, and they make you brush aside things about yourself that they don't want to deal with. Or they can't control, so they just have you snuff it out, you know. And your intuition, of course, is one of those things, and your instincts and everything. I mean, it's just what they do. They have to do that so they can be in control, but they can't control themselves. They don't even have a sense of self, and because they have such a lack of sense of self, They have to, that's why they want to enmesh with you and be so involved with you, because, you know, I guess they're just like hoping against all hope. I guess they're just praying and wishing and thinking and hoping all night long that, you know, your good qualities are going to like somehow seep into them if they just, you know, get far enough up your ass. And when that can't happen, but they don't accept that as reality. I think they think that if they just, you know, mold with you enough and y'all just become one, that they'll just magically be able to do everything you can do, and that's not, nothing works that way. Mother and child aren't even the same, and mother creates a child with her own body, so it's like, how is a boyfriend going to be just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so don't, just pretend he died. You know, you are your own person, and you're always going to be your own person. Nobody can change who you are. They can make you think that you have to forget parts of yourself, but nobody can really change who you are. But the narcissist has that kind of an impact because they are so good at psychological shit, which is awfully fucking bizarre. Because they suck at doing their own psychological shit. Because like I say, because they think they're perfect in a way, they act like they think they're perfect, and really deep down they hate themselves like so many other people do. But their way of making up for that is a bit unusual. And because they carry themselves like they can do no wrong, and they tell themselves on the surface that they're perfect, as I said, you know, they're not going to seek out any kind of help or anything that might correct or explore them, because that's not part of the plan. The plan is to be in control and welcome to my world, and you know, buckle in. And that's just how they do. But like I say, they're operating from inner wounded child too, but just in a much more extreme way than most of the rest of us. So but yeah, that's trust in yourself. And another part of that is like reclaiming the parts of yourself that they didn't approve of and like made you snuff out. Like there were things I quit doing, you know, and just parts of myself that I just started to ignore and neglect and abandon, you know, because he didn't like it, or, you know, he couldn't control it. And I had them like convince me to spend money on him and everything. And there was one guy I spent all my savings on, and so I've got 10 times that now. It doesn't matter now, but I mean, it's like at that time I was like, shit, why did I let that happen? And it's because he had me thinking that, you know, that it was going to turn into something, and that we were going to have like this great, you know, and it never happened because he was fucking lying. So, but anyway, you know, I started to just listen to myself and listen to what I wanted, and I just, once I got them out of my lives, I just, you know, thought, you know what, this is going to be about me now. And women especially are afraid of that because it feels selfish, because we're taught that anything we do that centers around us or putting ourselves first is selfish. Because that's a system, us having that teaching for ourselves and getting that passed down through the generations of women, that helps them. So the more you hate yourself, the more they benefit. Just like I say the other day when this morning I posted and I said, remember that time I posted that meme and it said, he says, I think you're amazing. And I say, I think I'm amazing too. And that was the quote. And at the bottom I said, when I posted that, I had comments from men that said, oh, why do you hate men? So the point is that they benefit because when they see you not hating yourself, they see themselves losing. So keep that in mind. And especially, and the men who commented and said, well, why do you hate men? They, especially two in particular that I'm thinking of, have known me for years. Have been my friends for years. And they said that. So don't forget that you loving yourself is an issue for them. Pretty much in general, not just narcissists, but just pretty much in general, you loving yourself and having some self-respect is going to be a problem for them. The only difference is in the narcissist, it's the same behavior, it's just elevated. It's just exacerbated. But you're going to see the same shit. It's just that they're more extreme about it. It's weird. It's really tricky. It's really fucking tricky. So, but the narcissist especially, and it's odd because like, they'll go after people who have confidence and really, believe in themselves. And at the same time, they'll go after people who don't have confidence. Because I didn't. And the more I hated myself, the more popular I was. And I had a different face at the door every 2 weeks looking for me. And if you don't believe me, you can ask my family because they were fucking sick of it. Like, I stayed gone. And that's just how it was. But I hated myself. But boys acted like I was great, so I just like went with them. Now put my time into them. It was just a total waste. If I could go back, I would slap myself and say, don't listen to anybody and just pick something and go to school. I would have just said that. I would have just said, invest yourself. Forget about fucking men. They're not going to help you. Invest in you. You're the only investment that's worth it. No one else is fucking worth it. And if I could go back and do one thing, I say that, but at the same time, I'm kind of glad I experienced everything the way I did, because I wouldn't know all this now. If I could have just like ignored boys and gone to school, and gone to college or whatever, I wouldn't have the experiences that I've got now under my belt, and I wouldn't be able to teach anybody anything because I wouldn't know. Like, I've known a lot of women who were just kind of nerdy and just like stuck with school and didn't have boyfriends and stuff, and then when they get, and then they'll be my age, so I'm like, okay, so you've been through some things like I have, and we can talk. And then I'll say shit, and they'll get real confused about what I say, because they didn't do any of that. They didn't fool with boys. They just went to school, and I'm just like, well, what rock are you living under? Can I come? But it's just, this shit happens. But I don't think I'd go back and change it, because I wouldn't have learned. Because I had to learn about myself, and the only way to do that was to have them throw their own feces in my face. And because that's what it takes. People have to really be faced with things before they learn, and it's just how it is. But anyway, so the narcissist, this person carries themselves like, there's some kind of Greek demigod, but they're not. It's just they act that way. So really deep down under all the bullshit facade, they hate themselves just like half the rest of the population. So they're not different. They're not really that different when it comes to how they feel about themselves. They're not really that different. It's just that in order to deal with the self-hatred, they like dissociate with themselves. And it's like they drop their identity altogether because they can't deal with it, and they just fucking enmesh with whoever, and it's just how they do. But your intuition, like I say, is always going to be with you, and it's not going anywhere. So you don't have, that'd be like, your eye color or something. It's not going anywhere. You can trust it. You can trust every day when you wake up and look in the mirror, your eye's going to be that color. Unless you're like my friend I was growing up with as a kid, her eyes change color sometimes. Then I don't know, pick something else. If you're doing that, pick something else. Whatever. But it's going to be there with you. So you don't have to not trust it. Don't let them convince you that you can't just make your own choices, because you were doing that before they got there. So it's like, so just keep that in mind. So I hope that answers your question. And that goes for Diana and anybody else who had a question about intuition. And somebody else mentioned trust as well. Brandy, I think I might make that. I might do a separate video for that one. But anyway, I hope that helps. And yeah, please trust yourself, because you've been whole. You've been a whole person, and you've been who you were meant to be the entire time. It doesn't matter who comes in and out of your life. People that come in and out of your life can show you things about yourself, but they can't change who you are, or change your value, or change they can't influence that. They can just show you things about yourself that are already there. That's it. So you're still all there. You're still a whole person. You're still everything that you need to be, and no one can alter that. They'd love for you to think that because it puts them in control, but that's the whole point. So that's their whole agenda. So just ignore their fucking agenda. Fuck their agenda. You have your own thing going on. So I hope that helps. I'm going to get to the next questions in here. So thanks everybody for being so active in the group. I really appreciate that. That gives me a lot of good ideas, a lot of things to talk about, and a lot of things, I can clear up for you. So we're going to go on to the next one, okay? All right, thanks.